Hello and welcome to 7 for 12 of me, Steve Harmison and John Norman. What a game we've just had at Trent Bridge. First T20, England versus Pakistan. Runs galore, atmosphere was fantastic. And if you can't get up for T20 cricket, then don't bother watching. If you do like it, this is the place to be. After every day's play with England, if you do like it, just remember to like and subscribe. Well, John, you're at Trent Bridge. Have you calmed down yet? What an atmosphere. What a game. What an innings by Liam Livingstone. Unfortunately, it's on the wrong side.
Oh, mate, I tell you what, it has been a spectacular evening here in Nottingham. Just behind me now, there's still hundreds of Pakistani fans. They're just surrounding the presentation that's taking place at the moment. The atmosphere has been brilliant. It's how sports should be. Fans sitting alongside each other, cheering for different teams, dressed up, painted up. Doesn't really matter what you look like. You just get behind your team. You celebrate when you hit six. You celebrate if you take a wicket. There's been plenty of that. T20 cricket, I think, is the purest spectator form of sport you can possibly get, because you get a bit of malaise, a bit of boredom maybe, just watching all these sixes fly into the crowd when you're watching it on TV. Not when you're here. When you're here, you're actually a bit fearful one's coming your way. Or maybe you want to try and catch one. I don't know. I don't know how many sixes were scored today. I know that Liam Livingstone hit 9 of them. A few weeks ago, we did a show saying that Joe Root had to be in the T20 side, in the World T20. Well, the stat I want to throw to you, Harmy, is that Livingstone bowled 2 overs today. He bowled leg spin and off spin. So maybe Livingstone's the one who needs to get in the side. But saying all that, it was Pakistan who won the game. 150 for the first wicket. Babar Azam bringing his form from the third ODI to Trent Bridge, from Birmingham to Nottingham. And then there was some little cameos. They're so important in T20 cricket. Hafiz, 24 from 8. Zaman, 26 from 10. They posted their top score ever in international T20, 232 for 6. Then when England came into bat, lost a few early wickets. But whilst Livingstone was still there, 17 ball 50, and then 100 in 42 balls, England just about kept their fingernails on the game. But the difference perhaps between the two sides, could it be the fielding, Harmy? Because 2 astonishing catches at the top of the order meant that England were always up against it. Breathless stuff here at Trent Bridge. How are we going to fit all of this into 7 minutes and 12 seconds? I don't even know. But let's give it a go. Okay, Harmy, well, where do we start? Shall we start with Pakistan? Because we will be talking about Livingstone. But at the end of the day, it was Pakistan that won the game. 232 for 6. A lot of talk from England about giving some guys the opportunity, possibly a straight shootout between Tom Curran and Saqib Mahmood. Chris Jordan didn't even play, but only one bowler went at under 10 and over. And the fans behind me possibly made a difference. 80 without loss at the 10 over stage. Pakistan hit 152 in the last 10 overs. It was exceptional batting from Pakistan.
It was exceptional batting from Pakistan, and a little bit of a memo to some of the England players. But Mohammad Rizwan, the Pakistani wicketkeeper, he got in a position where you think, got to about 30 or 30 balls. If he gives it away now, he wants float for what he's just done. He gives it away now, and he puts his team so much behind the 8 ball. It's ridiculous. But he didn't. He kept himself in the game. He knew he wasn't going that well. He rotated the strike, got Babar Azam on. What a player this kid is, by the way. Babar Azam. I know David Milan is the world's ranked number 1 2020 player. But in this format of the game, or in white ball cricket, full stop, the Pakistani captain has got to be up there with the likes of Virat Kohli and Steve Smith and many others. Talking about how he plays the game of white ball in 2020 cricket, because that was a masterclass by Babar Azam. Yeah. The ability to hit the ball for 6 without trying to hit the ball too hard, I think was evident. Any young kids watching, you don't have to hit the cover off the ball, even though the pitch was great and the boundary was short. It was just stylish. It was proper cricket shots, but just hitting the air, elevated, instead of going, when you play Test match cricket, instead of going along the ground through extra cover or, through mid-wicket or straight back down the ground, he hit them with a full fist of the bat and just kept hitting them and kept going up. It was a masterclass by Babar Azam. And I thought, you mentioned the cameos, they just kept coming. And they were only there for a short time, but they kept, hitting boundaries. I think there was 25 sixes all told in the match, which is a frightening number. It's a ridiculous number. And not losing wickets early in the power play, that helped Pakistan. I know they were a long way behind England when it comes to the runs after 10 and 15 overs, 5, 10, 15 overs. But the wickets was always going to come back to bite England later on, especially the minute they lost Livingstone. So I thought it was as much as I think England weren't great with bowling. I think a lot came down to the atmosphere. The atmosphere, you were there, was ridiculous.
Yeah.
The sound on TV was just frightening. And that was evident with the commentators talking about it. And I think sometimes that can get to you as a bowler. You can, your heart's going boom, 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 boom. You want to try and get there quickly. And all of a sudden, you either over pitch or under pitch and the ball doesn't go in the right area and you get called for 4 and your pressure goes back onto you. And I think we've seen elements of that from the England side. Whether it's a shootout between Curran and Mahmood, I'm not so sure. I actually think England's team is more or less picked and ready to go. If it's 15, obviously if they get a couple extra picks, then great. And I agree. I sat here and I still have Joe Root in my mind. Now I was very, very strong on that. And one of the reasons why I will say about that, John, and I'll still stick by that, we are going to play in pitches where it's going to be difficult. Yeah. The spinners are going to grab us, and there are going to be times in the middle period where the wickets are going to get tougher out in the UAE. We've seen the signs of that today, and I thought England again struggled when it comes to that. I think there was a little passage of about 4 or 5 overs. So that's why I mentioned the Joe Root as an all-round package. But I think Liam Livingstone has just thrown himself or propelled himself not only into the squad, but actually propelled himself to that extra spot in the side, because I thought he's just played an absolute beauty of an innings. And when I looked at it, there was one name came to mind when I seen him hitting the ball down the ground comfortably and power that he had. This reminded me a lot of the way Alex Hales made his burst onto the scene. And possibly England keeping the door slammed on Hales was because they knew how good Livingstone was up their sleeve, and they didn't want to bring Hales back. They wanted to keep progressing Livingstone. And boy, tonight, even though on a losing side, he's shown the world that he can perform at the highest level in the atmosphere, in the cauldron, in front of a crowd.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Hales, of course, like a lot of English batsmen, have enjoyed batting on this track. So he would have been looking on probably, feeling that he could have done a similar job to Liam Livingstone. How did you assess Parkinson? Because the first 2 overs were relatively tight, but Babar Azam, I mean, you made mention of him. He played with him basically at times, targeting the shorter leg side boundary. But then when Parkinson tossed it up wider, just drilling him straight through extra cover over the fielder for a 6 and a 4 as well. I mean, he is a class act, Babar Azam, but he certainly looked it, especially when he was facing Parkinson today.
Yeah, I thought Parkinson did well at the start. I thought he bowled nicely, mixed it up, with googlies and his traditional leg spinner. I thought his pace was excellent. I thought his trajectory was very good. And Morgan likes to bowl his leg spinner through. Owen Morgan, very rarely do you see Adil Rashid come off. He tends to bowl either 3-in-1 or he bowls 4 all the way through. And I think that maybe is a learning lesson for either for Owen or for Matt Parkinson, that if your captain wants you to bowl 4 straight through, when you get to 2 overs, it's not playing county cricket or not playing the blast and you're playing against players who are not as good. You've gone against one of the best players in the world, and from Asia, who plays spin very, very well. So you have to then think, what am I going to do next? Can I be one step ahead? And I possibly think the Pakistani captain was ready for Parkinson's 3rd and 4th over. I think he was just having a look at him, knowing that Morgan would probably, if you bowl 2 good ones, he's going to bowl him again. If he does bowl him again, I'm going to tuck in. And I think that's the difference between Lancashire and England. It's a great learning curve for Matt Parkinson. Owen Morgan said he wanted to try and challenge these players and try to get them to learn before they get to the big stage of the World T20. I think it'll do Matt Parkinson a world of good tonight. First 2 overs were brilliant. Second 2 overs were a learning curve, which I think Matt Parkinson will definitely get better, or will be better, for that experience.
Okay, so then when England come out to bat, well, let's talk about those 2 catches. I mean, have you ever taken a catch like the one Afridi took to dismiss David Milan?
There were 2 fantastic catches. I remember taking a caught and bowled at the Oval off Chris Gayle and had no idea that the amazement of the ball actually hitting my hand and staying there was unbelievable. It was like I remember Big Chris as I bounced him. He's sort of tucked him up. It's hit the Q end of his bat and it's come straight back at me. And I've got no idea. And I've just put a hand out and it's stuck. And I'm like looking at it going, I've caught it and chucked it up. So these things happen. The hardest catch in the world is the caught and bowled. I remember taking a hat trick at Trent Bridge. I think it was one of the first ever to take a hat trick for England in one-day cricket at Trent Bridge. And I can't remember the bowler's name. He just lobbed it straight back at us. And it was literally like an under-13 catch where you just get an underarm back at you. And I nearly spilled that. And it was like, because I was like, oh, no, it's hit me. But, if you bowl the ball and the ball comes back to you, look, you value how hard it is to take wickets. Norman Gifford used to say to me, how hard you have to work to get a wicket. Because he used to say that to me about me batting. Don't give it away. But if you're going to get one coming back at you, if you've bowled it, you've got to be ready to catch it, because you do it all you see. Work hard to get it. Do it yourself. It was a fantastic bit of fielding. And he showed later on. He took a very, very good catch later on, did Afridi on the boundary. Big, tall guy. And then he took a high one as well. I think he took 3 catches in the game. For a big fast bowler, he moves very well. One thing he did do, I thought he bowled well as well. I thought he bowled fantastically well. His aggression was good. He was in the batsman's face. He hit the deck hard, bowled 90 mile an hour. I've always said about Shaheen Afridi, he is a character. He's somebody you would want on your side. I thought he was magnificent for Pakistan tonight.
I thought Hossaini bowled very well as well. It's the first time I've seen him live. He really is. The difference is in, I know it's all slow balls these days, but I mean, this is a guy that can bowl 90 miles an hour and no discernible real difference in his action. Suddenly there's something coming down at 70 miles an hour. He kept the runs down. He created pressure. Just looks like another one that you just think, wow, this guy looks phenomenal. He
did, and I think you've got to look at this side with... I think you could, if they get to quarterfinal, semi-final, final of World T20, it wouldn't surprise you because of exactly what you've just described there. You've got Afridi, you've got some good bowlers who hit the deck hard, who in Asia, when we go to the UAE, pace through the air. Just showed you there tonight. I know they've got England at the end. If you can get a couple of wickets, go bang, bang. All of a sudden, not only is it very difficult to start getting in on, it's very difficult to score off quickly. And if you're chasing 10, 12, 11, 10, 11, 12 and over, then all of a sudden trying to hit a 90 mile an hour bowler off a length on a wicket which possibly is getting a bit wearing, it is very, very difficult. So they've got some big players, some key components up their sleeve, Pakistan. And again, we've seen a complete shambles in the 50 over game. But in the 20 over game, we've seen a well-oiled machine tonight. So you can't rule these guys out for, when we get to the World T20 in, a few months' time. They'll be there or thereabouts, especially if they can get the runs on the board, because I think they've got a bowling attack that can compete with the very best.
Brilliant stuff. Well, look, let's pick one moment each from either side as we wrap up this. Okay, so 2 moments of the match. You're going to go for an English. I'll go for Pakistan. But I think really you've got to start with that Livingstone century because it was a record. He will be disappointed that he went the ball after, but he had to go for that. And, it was probably the first one he mishit, actually. But in terms of talent and in terms of the big hitting world that we now live in, you've got to have something pretty special to be known for your big hitting and to be known as an aggressive batsman and to reach this milestone so early in his international career. I know it's at this ground here in Nottingham. It's a good one. But you only have to look back at, like, he was in the T20 Blast finals a few years ago, and even then he hits the ball with the cleanliness that just stands out, a bit like Joss Butler. There's so much power in the wrists. There seems to be so much confidence. He looks a real talent.
He does, and I commentated for the TV Lancashire Durham a few weeks ago, and he got, as wickets was tumbling all over, I thought he showed his maturity in getting Lancashire to a score that we're never going to win, but a score, because I thought he battered the situation very, very well. And I remember coming away from it thinking, there was like a light on moment for me, thinking, well, you know what? I think this kid's got something. I think he thinks about the game now more than he's ever done. I think his experience is starting to come. His game has developed from playing in different franchises around the world, learning probably off a lot of people, and I think we've seen that tonight. His talent was always there to be seen. His ball striking was fantastic. His speed of hands is ridiculous. When he hits the ball down the ground, he has speed of wrist, turning them over, trying to hit it along the ground, getting a bad ball and using his wrist to really get power to get it for six. He hit 9 sixes in this innings, and I know Trent Bridge is small. You still got to hit them. You've still got to hit them.
Oh,
I'm a massive golf fan.
They were big. Yeah, there were some big sixes.
They were big sixes, and I'm a massive golf fan. The Open's on at the minute, and a lot of people are saying, the scoring's good because it's a calm atmosphere. It's an easy running golf course. You still got to put the ball in a hole. You still got to hit the ball out the ground or over the rope. And I think Liam Livingstone did that brilliant. As wickets were falling around him, he didn't let the occasion get to him, which is another plus point. He didn't try and go in his shell. He knew his game plan. He stuck to his game plan and he executed his shots perfectly well. 2 or 3 down the ground were great shots. They were nearly Yorkers, right underneath his toe. And instead of trying to sort of close off and trying to hit him to the leg side, he knew he wanted to hit them straight, and he just kept going with them to try and hit them and get them somehow over the batsman, over the bowler, and they managed to go cleanly for 6. I thought it was a masterclass of hitting, and his timing and his running between the wickets was quite good as well. So another positive for England, and somebody who I think now it is very difficult to get him into the side. But you can also see why teams around the world, Rajasthan Royals, wanted Liam Livingstone, when a lot of people advised him that trying to come back and play county cricket was the good idea. And I think it was the good idea because I'm sure Liam wants to play Test match cricket as well, and the spot's up for grabs. But you can see why the likes of Rajasthan and a few others were shouting his name and wanting him into their franchise, because on evidence of what we've just seen, fingers crossed he will get better and better for this experience. And again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. I've seen a lot of Alex Hales in him, somebody that came in, carefree attitude, feeling confident, looked as though he's just pumped his chest out and said, I'm better than you. And he went out and showed it, hit the ball so cleanly. I think England, again, have unearthed another gem in white ball cricket.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal innings. I just so enjoyed that game. I was just having a little look back, of course, because he played a couple of ODIs against India, which we covered on TalkSport too, and scored some runs, 36, and he actually saw England home as well, 27 not out. Phenomenal innings, and it may be that England can bring a bigger squad to the World T20 because of COVID. So he may well be there. I think he almost certainly will. My moment of the day is just got to be about the crowd, because it was such good fun being here today. Trent Bridge is a great cricket ground. If you've never been to Trent Bridge, whether you're English or whatever, whether you want to come to England and watch some cricket, come to Trent Bridge. Everyone talks about Lords and Headingley and all these other grounds, but Trent Bridge is a brilliant, brilliant ground. What I would like to hear from you, though, is what is it like playing against teams from the subcontinent? Because, subcontinent cricket fans cheer singles in the same way English cricket fans cheer boundaries.
Yeah, it is. It's like a football crowd when you're playing teams from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. The love for the game of cricket in Asia, in the subcontinent, is just ridiculous. It's their religion. It's what they desperately want to be. They want to be cricketers. If they're not, they love watching it. You just see the crowds at the IPL and things like that. But it does when you play in the likes of Birmingham, when you play at Edgbaston, you play at Trent Bridge, or you play at Headingley, where the population of the areas, there's a lot of home support, a lot of what you would say away support, but home support because they make so much noise. It's ridiculous. And whether they're supporting Pakistan or whether they're supporting England, the noise, the atmosphere level goes. And as a cricketer, you have to control the heart rate. You have to control your emotion. And I just think some of the England bowlers, that's where they fell by the wayside tonight. And I think that's where Pakistan just got away from England, because controlling your emotion on the big stage is the biggest thing, thing you can the difference between winning and losing a game, because you could go for 25 and an over, or 28 and an over, 22 and an over, which has happened tonight, and that's the difference between winning and losing a game. So the crowd was excellent. I'll go off my experience. I had my debut at Trent Bridge against India, and it was deafening sometimes, especially Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. But the Hollis Stand, Trent Bridge, and on a weekend, it doesn't get any better than them two when it comes to atmospheres. And boy, I know we've been starved of it, and it sounded as though we haven't had that sound for a while. But they made it a very, very good atmosphere, and I think it just captivated the audience watching from home. But it also made the spectacle just that little bit better, I thought.
Okay, Harmy, we're going to wrap up the show. Please, if you've got this far, subscribe, like, review, leave a comment, and Harmy will get back to you. But looking ahead to the second T20, we don't have long till it takes place. It is at Headingley on Sunday afternoon, UK. Let's start with England. Owen Morgan has said that he's going to use this series to experiment, so we can expect some changes. Which players do you expect to see play in that second T20?
Well, I think it depends on Butler's fitness. I think Butler could probably do with a game, because obviously he hasn't played for a little while, and we always know that a fresh Josh Butler, somebody that's hitting the ball well, will have a knock-on effect to cricket further down the line. I'm just one eye on England, India when it comes to it. So I think Josh might have a game. I think we might see Rashid come back into it. We might go for a little bit more of an experienced side and play players just to make sure we win the game, get back in the series, to go to the last T20 and make it a final. Don't know, Owen Morgan, he's right what he's saying, give people opportunities, but also he wants them to learn. He wants them to learn under pressure. Well, the next two games will be the biggest pressure games going, because they've got to win the next one to get it to 1-1, which makes it a final, and then to go to the final game, which I think will stand his team in good stead for the latter part of the T20 World Cup or when it comes. So I think England will go a little bit more experienced, and I think you'll see Butler and Rashid back.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think possibly Jordan will come in as well.
Yeah.
Mahmood's played 4 games on a bounce, basically, isn't he? So it could be that Jordan comes back in. The fact that Tom Curran took a wicket with the final ball of his spell as well, I think, I think that was a big moment for Tom Curran. I don't think that his figures have quite reflected how he bowled. But anyway, we shall see. In terms of Pakistan, I'd say the same, following on from what you just said. I could see them coming in with the same team, because they know they win this match. They win the series. That, against England, is job done.
Totally agree. I can't disagree with any of that. I think the Pakistan captain and coach will be keen to push the momentum forward. I think they're in a different place to where England are at the minute. I think England are trying to make sure that they've got all bases covered and make sure they've got the right squad going. I think Pakistan know what their team is going to be. They know what their squad is. And I think they're just trying to groove and make sure that no little dents in anybody's confidence going forward. So I would imagine that we'll be definitely same game plan, same course of action, and I think theirs will be the same side as well.
Well, we shall see, and we will be back here. 7 for 12 will be following all the action from the T20 series between England and Pakistan. And then, of course, we've got the India series throughout August and September as well. This will be a daily show following all the play throughout all 5 test matches. So if you've got this far, please like, subscribe, review, leave a comment. Harmy will answer it. But we will see you after the second T20 at Headingley.